Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Podcast. It's Thursday, currently 11:45 a.m. on the West Coast, 2:45 p.m. doing the quick math on the East Coast. The NBA is a minefield of injury reports and back-to-backs. Only a couple games don't have teams on the back-to-back. You probably, hopefully, maybe, already saw part one of this Thursday betting summary with Oaks late last night. Asked him to come on really last minute because I knew he already had a few NBA bets on him, and I was struggling to find anything really late while we were still watching games, waiting for stuff to come out, but teams were playing while we were waiting for their lines. So I'm just going to go right into best bets here. I've got three that I locked in. That's the whole point of this. I want to make that very clear. I'm putting them here. Going to get the video out here just in a minute, but there's three of them that I like that are a little bit updated from last night. And these are the plays that I am now betting and have not, I'm turned things from leans into bets, right? So let's go right into it. Three of them, like I said, that I feel very confident about, that I like enough to come give you guys. So Washington at Portland. -4 for Portland. Should make that very clear. Portland's finally healthy. That's a huge part of this. Jeremy Grant's in, Malcolm Brogdon is in. When those two dudes are in, this isn't a bad basketball team. Like, it's not that bad of a basketball team. I tried to say that at the beginning of the year for the wrong reason. I thought Scoot was going to be more of an impactful player in year one. I was wrong. What's important is that the adult in the room, Malcolm Brogdon, Jeremy Grant, are on the floor. And that's huge for them. Tumani Kamara is another guy who came in. He's a rook. I'm not going to call him the adult on the floor yet. I don't think he can buy alcohol legally, but I will say that he's an incredible wing defender, about 6'9" and very rangy. Has been a really good defender since he's been in college. A second round pick that was a pretty good steal for the Suns. And I'm just a nerd, man. So I've been pumping up Tumani Kamara because of how good his defense is. And I saw him in Summer League in Vegas and I loved him. Jeremy Grant's back as well. When Jeremy Grant is in there this season, they have a 114 defensive rating. Not incredible, but good for this team. When he's out, 124. So much better when he's in there, obviously. Same concept for Malcolm Brogdon. When he's off the floor, we're talking about a 1-0. Let me make this correct. It's basically the same thing, 10-point differential. It's basically 113 to 123 for Malcolm Brogdon. Same concept as Jeremy Grant. When neither of them are on the floor, their defensive rating goes up 10 points per 100 possessions. That's very bad. The other effect for him, less turnovers. They go a little bit slower. They score more points. Their offensive rating isn't one of the worst in the league. It's still bottom half, but it's much better than it is when he's not on the floor, as it goes up about 6 points per 100 with him in there. They score about 8 more points per game with him in there. They give up fewer. It's just a very clear, like, you need a point guard. You don't have a quarterback, your team sucks, and Scoot is not there yet. They don't have the players to make up for not having a point guard, as I was saying. So Washington, what do you want me to say, man? They've lost 20 games on the road to anybody who is not Detroit or Charlotte, dating back to last season. And so I obviously am picking on Charlotte and Detroit there, who Detroit might actually win a game. We'll talk about that in one sec. But Charlotte as well, also bad. We know, bottom of the league. And so whatever Washington's done on the road in the last 20 games has been awful. Worst defensive rating in the league on the road this season. Worst defensive rating in general. Just honestly, like, a smear on the NBA this season are the Washington Wizards. I'm off of that now. Let me go ahead and talk about Ja again, y'all. Maybe I should have made this the first one so people didn't tune out, because they'd be way more interested in Ja Morant talk than Portland and Washington. But Ja Morant, 25 plus, Memphis to win this game. I think you can still get that plus 138 on DraftKings. I'm just going to do it right now so I don't mess you guys up. And I still have the bet up here on the slip. 128. So you lost a little bit of juice on DraftKings from what I have listed here, but you can still get some very good odds for this to happen. Ja's getting 25 against the Pacers. Like, whoever is the guy that attacks the rim the most against the Pacers is the guy who scores the most against the Pacers. And that is what Ja does. Dude is a point guard who plays like he's a tall, small forward, power forward who can slash and drive to it. We forgot. I at least a little bit forgot how impactful and how amazing this dude is and why he was primed to be the face of the league. But he's about to be the vocal point of an offense that's going to be in transition a lot. Like, Memphis is going to get it and go. It doesn't mean their pace is going to be like go, 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 because when they don't get in transition and they don't play the fast break, they do run the clock down. They play at a 94 pace usually. That's what they played last game. I expect them to keep it maybe faster this game. No question. You're playing the Pacers. But they're happy to, like, have a half-court offense when Ja's in the game, because it's good when he's in there. It is worst in the league when he's not. So they can't afford to lose anymore. Like, I try not to bring you guys too many, yay, rah, rah sort of stats and reasonings for why I'm making bets. But I'm a Ja Lever at this point. Patent pending. I'm TMing that right there. Ja believer or Ja Lever. I already forgot it. Either way, I'm believing in Ja on this one because they can't lose, man. Like they have to win on a 51 game rate over the course of 82. So like they need basically like a 63.4% winning rate for the rest of the season to be at 500. And I don't think that 500 is good enough. Maybe in the West, it gets you into the play-in, but it does not get you a top 6 seed in the Western Conference, which is stacked, as we know. So with that in mind, like this is another game. It's the first one at home. Come on, man. Like I know Tyrese Halliburton's turning into like a kind of fun villain and like they're going to be fine. They're not good enough yet on the road, though, are the Pacers. Ja at home in Grind City with a legit home court advantage. One of the like top 5-6 home court advantages in the league for Memphis when they actually play in their building. So he had a 40% usage rate yesterday. I expect him to come out and have another very high usage rate. He's like a running back who just has missed games for time that wasn't due to an injury because he wasn't injured, right? And you see this guy come fresh out of nowhere, or like a backup running back, right? Who hasn't played for 3 games but is really good. Looks like he shot out of a cannon. That's Ja right now. And he always looks like he shot out of a cannon. So I'm going to go ahead and feel really good about him getting 25. I mean, look, when you've been starving for offense, and now you have this like feast of offense that is Ja Morant in and of himself. You go ahead and feast and let him do so. Memphis destroys what exactly it is that Indiana wants to do to succeed. They scored the most fast break points. They scored the most points in the paint. Kind of just said the same thing because if you do score that much in transition, you're probably getting to the rim very often. But either way, the fact that Memphis gets back and has the number 1 paint defense, and they have the 4th best fast break defense in terms of limiting fast break points in the other team. So the mismatch here leans for Memphis at full strength with Ja Morant finally. 25 plus for Ja, baby. Time to be a Ja Lever moving forward. And lastly here, little midday coffee. Deni Avdija. I talked about him in part 1 of the video, part 1 video with Oaks that's already up. And I talked about points, rebounds, and assists for him. And then the rebounds went up a smidge, and I'm taking the under. So 10.5 on the rebounds and assists. And I like them both together. I really like the under on 6.5 boards because I do think that Portland's going to be a very good rebounding team tonight, now that they have their full like host of wings and bigs in there, including DeAndre Ayton, who has missed a couple games over the last like 10 games or so. For Washington and for Avdija, he's just in a bad spot. As I was talking about Kamara and Jeremy Grant and their incredible job at defending small forwards and power forwards. Portland is 5th at limiting small forwards in rebounds, 3rd at limiting them in assists. Also 5th, by the way, in limiting them in points. 10.5 just felt low for a guy who might be able to get a tip in here or there. So with that in mind, I know that gets you a rebound, but let's move forward. With that in mind, like I do believe in both these guys to be able to lock him up. There's a little bit of a pattern here, right? Like Jeremy Grant missed a few games over the last 7 games. And in those last 7 games, the Blazers dropped a little bit. They're still in the top 10 in limiting small forwards, but that was when they went from 3rd best at limiting them at assists to like a 10th or 11th best at this point over the last week of games. So with that, I keep saying 7 games. I meant 7 days, which has been 4 games for this team. Point being 4 games, to be very clear with you. Jeremy Grant's been out. Kamara didn't get into this starting lineup and get minutes for real until about 3 games ago. So overall, like now that you have both of them in there, we're going to see that jump right back up to being able to limit small forwards at one of the best rates in the league. For Avdija, he's gone under in 6 of his last 9. And in that time, he's averaged 26 minutes per game. You can't really predict what the hell is going to happen with this Washington Wizards lineup and rotation, to be honest. And I'm not like talking too much trash on anybody here, but I am being very clear that like I would actually lean toward that being in our favor. Is what I'm trying to say. I think Avdija is probably around 28 minutes at the ceiling in this one. I just don't think that's enough for the amount of hustle plays that he's going to need. And the fact that he's like the 3rd option at the best, probably 4th option at least now that I think about it, because Tyus Jones brings the ball up. And Avdija is not someone that they're looking for. Daniel Gafford is option 17, even though he's the 5th man on the floor for them. So they're not running anything through him, but there's not going to be much space for Avdija to do what he wants to do with Gafford on the floor. He is going to rely on playing against the bench, and that's where he's gotten had games where he's really good when he comes off the bench. So the 3 games that he has scored or has recorded more than 10 rebounds and assists in the last 9 games that he's played, those were all 3 games that he did not start, interestingly enough, because he got all those bench minutes. And he does play a lot at the end of the game, so it's not like you can rely on him just being off the floor, but all the time at the end. But like I said, with the randomness of the lineups and the fact that there's so many dudes and they're not trying to win most importantly, let's go ahead and just ride with him to go under in this one, as I already picked the Blazers to win the game. So that is all the time I have for you. A nice quick episode here for you guys. Quick in my terms anyway. Quick betting summary of what we are flying with here on Thursday as you see this. Washington at Portland. Let's go with the Blazers -4. SGP, we got a same game parlay. Ja Morant, 25 points for him at least. And then Memphis to win that game. Closer to +130 right now. Don't come at me, please. +138 for me when I hit it. I try to get this out as fast as I can. It might already be down to +130. Still very, very, very worth it, down to like +1, plus whatever, man. I think this is a good win for them, and Ja's 25 is going to be a huge part of that. Denny Abitha, baiting him to go under 10.5 rebounds and assists. I would prefer to bring you all unders, y'all, but the only games that have like odds up for real are the Jazz and Pistons, that I don't know what you want me to do with that. I mentioned that the Pistons are likely to get their first win of the season. They are a favorite at home, -2.5, because everybody and their mom and brother are not playing for Utah tonight. Although I will say Utah's still got some NBA players on the floor. I'm staying away from it because I just don't think, oh, Jazz, rah, they're going to get the win here. That's not what I'm using for that game. But anyway, the other games like the Pacers and Grizzlies, I'm not going under with that. The Spurs and Bulls, I got nothing under there for you either. The Magic and Bucks, we can't even get fully props for. And the same concept for everywhere else. Can't really get props for. It's a game that I'm like, such bad defensive teams, I don't feel comfortable throwing these unders out there to you guys, even though that's always my preferred bet, to be clear. Anyway, appreciate you guys following along. I love all the comments that you guys are leaving. I don't care if there's some snark or some hate or some sarcasm. I can take feedback. Shout out my guy Mike, who was like, yo, sometimes just put your own projections out there and then go ahead and put those out, even if you don't have lines. Like, what do you think the line should be? And I totally agree with that. The problem is I can't make lines without lineups either. And I'm not going to do all of the research to go, here's what you should do if this guy is not in and this guy is in. That's going to take me 4 hours by the time I do that. Then we're just going to have the actual lineups up. So I'm going to do my projections as best I can. I appreciate the feedback, for real. Like, I can take it and I actually welcome it because you guys are the ones I'm trying to make this for. So if you don't like it, why the fuck am I doing this? Continue to follow along, subscribe to that page. Much appreciated. We are up more than 14 units on the Playa props. Finally got a side and total win. So until I see you next, which is episode 104 coming up, happy betting.